good games all around. I mean, this is exciting time. This is what we want to see in terms of what is, you know, a grand finals weekend at the end of the day. This is where the big money is starting to get on the line. This is where the tables can change for a few of these teams.
TM kind of playing from Pozo. And I think this is the eastern side. Yes, it is. So they have taken a slightly further eastern approach. So that's going to be SMB. Galacticos are just over this ridge. That's a dangerous way over. Myron just grabs Huth and takes him down. That's a freebie if you've ever seen one. Waiting patiently at the foot kind of end of the hills there. No upgrade of gear. Free bike as well. You're laughing.
Everyone generally sitting more towards the south of this circle, and again, that's that prime junkyard area. Touching it at the start of the game, you're going to have ENCE just towards the east, SMB, gear up. Galacticos will still hold on to it. VP will do what I suggested and go for a big land grab. They're actually going a full four-man split type, but no, excuse me, it's 2-1-1. 2 towards the roadside on Hacienda, 2 towards the outskirts, in between DA and Liquid. Liquid more Minas Generales, DA pretty much holding all front of Elazar, which will deny land towards Na'Vi, for example. You can already see now the 2-2 that's come off from DA, which is fantastic. Gives them good leverage towards the northern side of it. They can kind of pincer, and they can bot back and forth. This information will be paired off to the rest of DA. It's just they have to be careful
Heroic, though.
because they're going to get a 4 versus 2, essentially. Yeah, I mean...
how close they are right now.
Think of game 1, what we spoke about, Lauren, even the complete opener, like early scuffles and heroic go hand in hand. It's just something that they always find themselves within, either losing players, having arguments.
There it is. Beanie.
Don't hit out.
Beanie's 1 HP. He's literally a one-shot right now. Oh, Beanie, if you're so lucky to be alive, dude. So dang lucky. Now, for me, I want to see how much utility Na'Vi have, how well split DA are, because you could just get mollied and naded out of these compounds these days. I mean, for Na'Vi, do you want to invest that much this early on into it? Plenty of options. See if they can get a knock, maybe build off the back of it. You can see Qwizzy is trying to creep up as well. Vard. He's on his own. He's been spotted. There's the tag. Qwizzy now has to go on this. He can't sit back anymore. Flash out the window. There's the return one. A little bit of a trade out on this. Qwizzy, blind as anything. Now I'm going to come back around, see if he can find that player that's been eluding him. But now there's problems because there's not going to be just one player looking your way. It's going to be actually Pixel finding alya. Na'Vi not having the success that they wanted so far.
Doors open. Trying to draw some attention. alya at the back. They'll probably have to commit one player unless they can just go in for the full flush onto all of DA. That's going to be big. Example and Qwizzy opening up on 2 simultaneously. Now they'll swing it round Jembty to try and do something. Anything whatsoever but the flush. He's there. Qwizzy's going in. He can't land the headshot. It doesn't matter. The support's there in the car. Mellman comes in. While Na'Vi come out on top, they do lose one for this fight. If it's one thing we've seen from VP at the start of the day, it doesn't necessarily spell disaster.
No. But I would say Na'Vi are one of those... You don't normally see Na'Vi get quiet wins. Whereas VP, I think they can switch into that gear where it's purely tactical. They don't have to go for the fights. I feel that Na'Vi are a little bit more of a bulldozer when it comes to it. They want to, you know, fight their way through. But we'll see. We'll see if they can convert with 3. However, we do see the circle update, so kind of staying pretty true to that eastern coast, but circling up, centering up. Now, a lot of the teams on the outskirts will be punished for being on the outskirts. It's no surprise. There's a reason people risk to get to the middle, because you get rewards like this, and more often than not, you will be within the circle. However, looking at who's there, you're going to have Galacticos, Liquid, Vanir not doing too badly for themselves. ENCE control a lot of territory towards the east, though.
Circle set up perfectly for this junkyard finish. ENCE will be forced to move in. Up on the east. Can kind of just wander down, but Galacticos have to be careful now. Because of the position and the terrain that they're holding. Remember, they were here from the very start, pretty much in the get-go. They're still on that 2-2. Now, eventually, it's going to be at a point where the 2-2 is just too weak. You have, if you've got Junkyard, honestly, I'd really like to see them probably send it back and commit to a full 4-man stack, but I understand what they're trying to do. They're leveraging 2 very strong positions. It's just whether or not ENCE catches 50% of the roster. This kind of tributary that runs all the way down from Elazar, it's pretty open and pretty exposed. Yeah, this could be fun. We could lose quite a few teams in this, and it looks like Liquid will be the first one to try and take a fight. That'll be whole of game. You right. Spots one of them over just below Junkyard. Actually, that shot from's completely outside of the circle. SMB, just be aware Gear Up is lurking around them. Same can be said for BBL, just further down towards the south. Your big pack of players here. It's going to be the Elazar transition. FaZe is coming down from the north, and VP is actually moving forward on the cross from the west, while QM is directly behind them, and Vanir's above them.
But I like that FaZe went further east. It's going to be the quieter side of the circle to an extent. They've been able to scout it, and the terrain is way more favorable. VP would have to go up, you know, not necessarily vertical, but super steep hillside if they want to try and work up this hill, which you can do. But it does mean you're exposed to the likes of QM and anyone hitting those later rotations coming around on that kind of, I guess, west and northern side, which you know that teams in the east will already be in pretty much at this point. There'll be a very slim to low chance of someone slotting in now, but I'm imagining Aitzy and FaZe will be trying to scout that out as it stands. So if anything, I really like what FaZe did with this rotation. We'll see if it works out for them, as if they do tend to lean away from this, if they want to try and get, you know, maybe a little bit of a lean further south, but I like it. Whereas I want to look at Questionmark and VP and Vanir, who opted for that more direct path. It does put you in danger's way. Now, for Virtus.pro, though, they are okay. They do have that compound on the south side of El Azahar, so they'll be okay. But Questionmark still have two players in the petrol station across the road, maybe trying to hold for a late rotation, keeping eyes peeled on those ridge lines, seeing if anything would come cresting over, and nothing has. So it will be time for Fate, I think it's Dante, to move up to the other two.
Boom. Finds Page. Actually more towards this side of it, and the fight that we're going to be watching unfold between us. T-Bone's holding back to Boom, but he can't really let rip just yet, because if he does, they have them all, BTM and Salak, to collapse upon him. Beamy will be giving him support. We're looking at the fight between... This will be a three-way. Be aware of this. You have Vanir just lingering in the distance over, watching all of this one. BatulinS is swinging in a hope that they can better grab a position for the vehicles to wander by. This will be a bit of a smash and grab, to be honest. The second QM shows itself, we might see VP springboard and the shift down south. Ooh. Everybody in the north is kind of screwed. That is a massive, massive transition. And look at how barren that circle leaves us.
Yeah, what's there? One, I guess, dried up riverbed, it looks like, that runs from the north to the south side. You've got ENCE sitting quite happy here. It's not ideal, it's not perfect, but at least they're in. Now, they're going to have to deal with all the teams coming on past, so they're going to have to maybe drive this kind of, maybe disastrous fate, but Perfectix has pulled the pin. This could be the instigator now. There's Questionmark on the other side, and they also have to move. Can he grab one on the right? And he decided to not commit towards it, maybe hearing the vehicles, deciding this wasn't the time to go for it, but Spyro has got contact towards Faultlessly. That does mean the gun's now out. This could be a fight in the north, and the circle's moving in a couple of seconds. I don't love this for them. Oh, but that shot is sublime. What a connection coming through. Dante actually turning attention towards Vanir, who are making their run for it, who are slightly forwards, you know, towards the southwest, but there's the peak from the ridgeline. Fate cannot take down Perfectix as cleanly as wanted there.
We've got to carry on and continue forward. No time and no rest for the wicked whatsoever. Perfectix just holds down the trigger, but it doesn't find its target. They got to get in the vehicles and go, though. Time's are ticking and time's running out. I know it's not the most painful of circles, but certainly with how much ground they've got to cover, how much land they have to move through, it's ridiculous. PTM will be the first one to fall from the side. Hall of game. Second one followed up by Boom. Zoom out on his feet and hoping, but dying in open water. Salak, the last man standing, and probably not a great deal they can do with how many just different players and different angles have been held the second that he cresses this ridgeline. It should be a GG. Tries to use the vehicle to the best of his advantage. Vanir, another team that was up on the top and involved within that fight, will be hitting the dried up riverbed. T-Bone's there on his own. He's like, please leave me the hell alone. I'm here on my own with no help, and I just want to try and survive. Doesn't happen. Spyro, meanwhile, falls down, and we did say another team again. It's just everyone from the north. They're not going too deep, I would say, unless you are Vanir, who want to... I'm actually quite surprised. I thought they were going to stop there with Heroics take T-Bone's position, but they haven't. Like, even T-Bone's just now on the ground, bleeding out, wondering what in the world just happened. He's been knocked and left on his knees.
And it was a really interesting move from Questionmark that's kind of caught my attention. They pulled up in a compound just on the outskirts of the circle. They moved first. They let VP move in, caught one on the way. Now, what does Questionmark do? They fly in towards ENCE. It was ingenious, and now it looks ridiculous. I guess they had so few options, they had to try and make something out of this. They do manage to knock Rustanmar at least, so that's a chance, an opportunity. But now the Blues on them. They can sit down here and rot for all that ENCE cares. Same for VP. They cost them Spyro. They don't give a damn about them. What a weird way to play that out. Very curious from QuestionMark. An interesting choice to be made, and maybe there's method to the madness that I'm not seeing, but it didn't pay off for that send towards ENCE. And now look at the North. FaZe, ENCE, QuestionMark, VP just taking lumps out of each other. VODS, he still does find Tiikzu. So if he can keep working on this, fair enough. But look at what's left. A doozy on basically 1 HP. A couple of, I mean, bandages. A couple of, you know, stims coming out. It ain't pretty. It ain't much. But it's got them maybe that next step forward. But they aren't outliving VP yet. They aren't outliving Vanir, who are the other teams in the North. So now we look towards FaZe and Na'Vi, for example. They're going to be taking lumps out of each other. And it's actually ripped 9. Where the heck did he hit that from? Okay, like a nice little 300, 200 meter shot. Not bad.
I think Mellman's just been told to completely bail on this. We're about to have a multitude of fights on a multitude of different fronts here. We've got the North, we've got the West, we've got the East. Everything's paying off. Mellman's sending it towards the building, but ultimately probably not a lot it can do. The saloon bar is closed for business, and it's currently held down by SMB. Again, these river ditches are just going, these riverbeds will be the only thing that holds some sort of survivability. Diggery holding back on the building for the rest of QM to make some sort of a maneuver. He didn't watch the... I'm surprised at that. He was so tunnel visioned onto the one player in front of him. He misses. Instantly, the player's creeping up, and now Beamy comes around the corner and just absolutely mops house. I mean, we keep saying it's a shame that we see Heroic with so little players and so out of place, because individually, they're skilled, but just the early game wreaks havoc for them as a roster. VP on the outskirts being held back by, what, Galacticos pretty much from the opposite side of the circle. Get a little bit of elevation, and Beamy is just working his way forward with smokes. BatulinS probably doesn't want to have nothing to do with this. Steams up under the smoke to give him some sort of survivability, but he might not be able to see this shit. Remember, they're in the smokes themselves, so they won't have that full info. Never mind, Perfectix sees it, and Lyron finally puts the nail in the coffin. Gear up, they will commit towards TM. TM have the trees, but whether or not they have the smokes to be able to work their way out is a different question altogether. Aimlow's going for it. I mean, this is quite a good send. The pressure's on with the blue on the back as well. Yeah.
Flash goes in. Aimlong going to be trying to push this one forward. Schofield hits the deck, maybe tries to worm his way into a better position. Doesn't really work. However, I want to also keep in mind the West here. We have 4 teams in super compressed areas now. FaZe are going to get caught in the run. Middle of the open, a couple of smokes to try and keep them safe, but that last cross is going to be a disaster. Fuzzface already 10 HP, tries to get a last minute flash in hand, but Damon's in front of it. 4 bullets is all he needs. He takes down 2 of FaZe. BatulinS helps out with Fex. And this is looking like it's all over for FaZe, trying to work their way forward. I think Aitzy is the last one standing, and he ain't for long. Aimlaw with a great little hold there, but this is the western side. I've been waiting. This powder keg about to blow. Look at it, Liquid. Hall of Game out here. Vanir, and then Galacticos holding the push, BBL holding the push. This could be a huge game for BBL, Rich. This could be the one to get them back on the board.
I'm interested to see if they actually engage with Galacticos. In theory, they shouldn't bother. They should just kind of, if they've got them in a weaker position, then fair play, it's understandable, but maybe they just hold them and say, you know what, we don't want nothing to do with this. You boys fight all those teams wandering in. We have got 3 of them about to beat the living bats of hell out of one another, and we just have to watch this all unfold. There's still Salik, who's been a complete pain in the backside from the North, by the way. He's on his own. Last man standing. For Exhalation, swinging it round. Clib picks up. Unfortunately, he's shut down instantly.
Great trade.
Hall of Game goes down. Liquid just demolishes them. VP with a last stand on the smoke. Still got 3 players, but TM is waiting. Lurking. Mert just seen with the big boy gun in the distance. Let's make sure we keep note of that. He'll be level 3'd up, geared and ready to rock and roll. Salik, the last man from Exhalation. This is probably the dagger in the side for some people that they just did not simply expect. The big low swing down. Vanir, be aware of them. All 4 together as a complete packed unit. Liquid needs to be able to find them individually, but unfortunately Yellow instantly spins, finds Clib's head, and decapitates it.
Exactly what the doctor ordered there for Vanir to try and deal with Liquid in that fashion. It actually worked out really well with that knock and pick on towards mxey that they could then push and try and make the most of it. However, Galacticos doing a similar thing, actually. They're trying to push up a little bit, and Thunder lost again. This guy's positioning is always so good. However, he just takes too much damage on the initial fight, maybe hoping for a better situation. Perfectix has 3 bandages, no helmet, and a broken vest. So you can see how well it's gone for him over here. He's just trying to do whatever he feels like at this point. They're sitting in first place. If he can get a couple of kills here, that'd be lovely. But again, I'm looking at Vanir, and their options are looking slender, if not slim to none. Lyron's going to be the first one to send a couple of shots down range, but a couple of connections, but not that many. There it is. PerfectX with the steal on Hjort, but no flush yet. He's trying to get that, maybe a couple of extra points. Make it harder to catch us, and everyone's piling in towards Vanir now. They are in so much trouble.
All the work to do and really nowhere to go whatsoever. Galacticos can kind of fall back for all but a moment and get a second's respite. Get the fallen comrade back on his feet and be able to med up. It's not the worst place in the world. That, my friends, is the best place in the world. SMB can kind of control this point unless the circle keeps going down towards the south. If it does and the saloon pulls away, then they're in trouble. Crossing that road will be absolutely treacherous. The entire time, and you kind of called it at the perfect moment, BBL, things really started to open up for them. With the previous circle, having Murd off here, just pushing back and holding everybody accountable for their maneuvers to kind of go towards it. They do have to come forward. The saloon is still in play, which is kind of surprising, honestly. This was mxey from the absolute murder transfer. Good job from him. And I've got to say, this game, I've seen 3 people using shotguns. So maybe the Templars starting to, you know, set a trend.
Maybe. Looking beyond this, though, as much as I'm talking about BBL, I'm not ignoring SMB here. They have the best cover to be playing with, I would say. Actually, who knows where the circle goes? The saloon's still very, very feasible. I think leaving it is tricky because you're in a little bit of a defilade. You're on that lower ground. You've got that wrap of the hillside around it. It gets a little bit tricky. But I don't know if anyone's going to be there to punish it right now because the south is so unresolved. And with Mert, without, you know, coming out, he's going to be watching absolutely everyone. So let's see what they do with this. PerfectX, he is playing a different game altogether. Yep. Didn't last long either. So PerfectX gone. We're down to 5 teams here. Na'Vi with 1, Galacticos with 3, TM still sitting pretty, SMB 3, and BBL with 4. Now, I have to say it. I don't know what's been happening with BBL. They went from absolute heroes to really struggling in performance. So I want to see this be a big game for them. I want this to be a good game for them here. To see a little bit of that spark come back to them that's been missing, at least since week 1.
It's a bit of the time to do it, especially when the money is a lot bigger in comparison to the previous 2 weekends. It is one of the bigger changes that I'm a big fan of, format-wise, coming into PCS 5, is that there are these comeback mechanics you can take control of. If you're not going to win the entire thing and just steal the wildcard slot, you do have the ability for having a bit of a, you know, you're still going to need average weeks, don't get me wrong. You can't have complete, like, 2 utter blowouts because then it's just going to be all for naught. There's going to be other teams that play much more consistently. We have some very, very strong teams within Europe, but certainly towards these final ones, you are getting this comeback mechanic where the cash comes into play. 5 seconds, circle will shift, and we'll see who it favors. So we're going to go down towards the south and have the open bank. So do we have the saloon? It's the saloon. All right, then, SMB. You've kind of been gifted this one. But if it's one thing we've spoken about in previous times, Lauren, it's when that safety net's removed. They have to come out from that building. And should you have, for example, BBL, 4-play, maybe the saloon acts as an anchor point to work through. If not, they'll just take this road, Mellman.
Mellman.
Yeah. Just having a go on it. Might as well.
Yeah, a little explosive slug down on the ravine there, just crawling away. This is a really unique ending. I want to see what BBL do with this again. It's between them and TM now. TM, if they group up, BBL seems like they want to bring this fight now. TM have had to push up here. SMB will be able to get some pieces of vision. Good tags from Marco there. Lovely shot from Mert. That's what the doctor ordered. Artix is gone now. Shots from the back lines. That's what we're saying. That Lazar can see. That SMB can see. As soon as they crest that hillside, TM are very visible. So BBL should be an advantage, but keep your eyes towards Galacticos as well. They're having a look. They're not getting overly invested. But they're certain keeping a little bit of a track on BBL here.
Galacticos are holding their ground. I'm just intrigued to see if any of them really wants to even bother stepping over it. Apocalypse has moved, by the way. Let's take stock of that. Apocalypse has begun the slow maneuver outside to try and give them a bit of land. While all this is going down, this would be the perfect time for SMB to strike, and same can be said for TM. You've got Galacticos and BBL focusing one another so hard, all the other teams down towards their left-hand side can just fold into this if they see fit.
Can BBL actually run this way with those Molotovs in place? I'm looking to see if they can. They've now dissipated. They can make the move. But Thendalos, what? Just destroys Mert out of nowhere. Lyron as well, still alive, barely. Thendalos going to push in the smoke here. The man's on a mission. Absolute madness. Molly comes out. That's perfectly placed. No, it goes too far. I thought he had that right on the money. It's not. And now Lyron with an 8 in hand. All 4 players right next to each other. This could be a huge issue. Metralis does find Thendalos. No flank for you, but oh! They've been destroyed.
Oh, yeah. It's as simple as that. Everyone's just swinging in now. This was the absolute time to do so. I was wondering if, to be fair, BBL just ignored Galacticos and said, okay, we'll go down towards the south and fight TM, but no. The head of the pack goes towards the western side. That's where they have the fight, and now we have to turn. SMB, you've worked hard for this. You've come out from your safety net. But let's not take anything away from TM. Tokyo have still got 11 frags between them. They've been putting up a good damn game. All the smokes are down and we will begin to cross the road. Emil has a little bit of a scout out to see what's in front of him, but with a perfect 3 versus 3 lined up, this should be a very good fight.
I love the idea of Emil against Rip9 as well. Like, these two, like, Laz is out there as well, who had that great ending almost. Like, Emil's been on a tear the last couple of games, so keep your eyes on him. If he can find the right amount of space and win the 1v1, is this Rip9 wins it out against Emil, and that is a huge element of TM's hold. Now gone, Daimon called upon, finds the reply, dips back over. This is still pretty even. Kind of a 2v2 here. This is still very much on the money. Well geared up though. Tokyo Anji still in a pretty decent position. Helmets and vests. And Rip9 going to put himself forward. AK in hand, trying to just dip over, get a little bit of a tag on a helmet. Not going to find much for him. Is he creeping the road now? I think he's going to be forced to. Both of these endings now we've had in the last couple of games have been coming down to the wire. Apocalypse holding the very edge of this smoke. If they make even a footstep outside of the plume here, they'll be in so much danger. But they don't. They swing on the other side. Apocalypse starts to wrap his way around. It opens up for Rip9, a 1-for-1 trade out. It's down to Apocalypse, who's still standing. Dannymon on the other side. Spray comes in, and Dannymon wins it.